Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
It was a Thursday evening when Christine burst into the shop, her polished heels clicking against the concrete floor. I was elbow deep in the hood of a Camaro, the scent of oil and grease heavy in the air. Her presence felt out of place in the workshop, like a diamond misplaced in a toolbox. She stood there, arms crossed, with a look of determination that hinted she wasn't here for small talk. "Louis," she began, her tone sharp but laced with excitement. "You're coming to my office party next weekend." I wiped my hands on a rag and glanced up, caught off guard. "Office party? Since when do I do office parties?" She stepped closer, her perfume cutting through the smell of engine grease. "It's important to me. Everyone's bringing their significant other, and I want them to meet you." I hesitated. Crowded rooms filled with strangers in suits weren't exactly my scene. But the way she looked at me, expectant and slightly impatient, made it hard to say no. "All right," I said finally, "but don't expect me to schmooze." She smiled, triumphant. "You'll be fine. Just wear something nice." Over the next few days, Christine's excitement grew palpable. She spoke of the party with a spark in her eyes, describing it as an opportunity for me to see her world. I wasn't sure what that meant, but I resolved to make an effort for her sake. The night before the party, I found myself staring at my reflection in the mirror, adjusting the tie she picked out for me. "You're going to knock them dead," she had said earlier, her tone light but firm. I wasn't so sure, but as I stepped into the unfamiliar world she inhabited, I couldn't shake the feeling that this night was going to be more than just an introduction to her colleagues. Something told me it would be a test, one I hadn't signed up for. Kristen had truly outdone herself with the Carpathian-themed corporate party, turning the venue into a gothic dream straight out of a Victorian novel. Chandeliers dripped with cobwebs, fake of course, but eerily convincing under the dim, flickering light. The tables were covered in thick crimson velvet, set with towering candelabras surrounded by dark roses and sprays of ivy. But as much as everyone else seemed enchanted, I felt like an outsider. I wasn't a part of this world, not with my calloused hands and grease-stained nails, no matter how much I'd scrubbed them for tonight. The polite questions from Kristen's colleagues about my work as a mechanic were bad enough, thinly veiled attempts to mask their disinterest. But the real humiliation came during Kristen's toast. I was standing near the buffet table, nursing one of those absurdly named cocktails, when she tapped her glass for attention. "I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight," she began, her voice carrying effortlessly through the room. "It's been an incredible year, and I couldn't have done it without such a fantastic team." She paused, her smile widening as she gestured toward me. "And of course, my fiancé Louis. You may be a modern-day grease monkey, but at least I always have someone to fix my car." Laughter erupted around the room, sharp and pointed, slicing through me like a blade. I stood frozen, the heat rising to my face as her colleagues turned to glance at me, some chuckling, others smirking. I tried to force a smile, but inside, all I felt was humiliation. I couldn't stay there. The laughter followed me as I slipped out the side door in the biting December air. The night was quiet, the cold sharp against my skin, but my thoughts were anything but calm. Her words replayed in my head, louder with each pass. Modern-day grease monkey. It wasn't just a joke, it was a reminder of how little she respected what I did. The sound of her heels against the pavement broke through my spiral of thoughts. She approached me, wine glass in hand, her expression still bright and oblivious. "There you are," she said, her tone light, as if nothing had happened. "Why did you run off?" I turned to face her, my voice tight with barely contained anger. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was?" She blinked, tilting her head as if I were speaking a foreign language. "What are you talking about?" "The toast," I said, each word cutting. "You made me sound like a joke, like some handyman you keep around for convenience." She laughed, a light, dismissive sound that only stoked my anger further. "Oh, come on, Louis. It was just a joke. Everyone loved it." "I didn't love it, Christine," I snapped, my voice rising despite myself. "This isn't the first time you've mocked my work. You belittle what I do every chance you get. Tonight, you just decided to do it in front of a room full of people." Her smile vanished, replaced by a defensive glare. "You're overreacting. If you can't take a little teasing, that's on you." "It's not teasing when it's about respect," I said, my voice steady now, grounded by the realization I've been avoiding. "And you've made it clear how little you have for me." Her mouth opened in disbelief. "You can't be serious. You're going to throw everything away over one stupid comment?" I pulled the engagement ring from my finger and put it in my pocket, the weight of the moment strangely liberating. "It's not just one comment. It's how you see me, Christine. and I can't be with someone who doesn't value who I am. Her protests followed me as I walked away, but I didn't stop. For the first time that night, the cold air felt refreshing, the weight on my chest finally lifting. The morning after the party, I woke to a flood of messages. My phone buzzed incessantly, each notification another thread of gossip that Christine had spun overnight. Mutual friends were asking, "What happened? And did you really break it off at the party?" I ignored most of them, too drained to deal with the aftermath. But one message caught my eye, a screenshot of Christine's social media post. "Dodged a bullet," she'd written. "Some people can't handle a strong woman." He couldn't take a joke. Anger simmered beneath my exhaustion. She was twisting the narrative, painting me as insecure and petty. I didn't want to stoop to her level, but I also couldn't let her rewrite the truth. I took a deep breath and started typing replies to a few close friends, laying out what had really happened. By midday, the whispers had turned into discussions. Some people called to say they understood. I was there, one colleague of Christine's admitted quietly. It was uncomfortable. She didn't need to make that toast. Another messaged, "Honestly, I've heard her talk about you before," like she thought she was doing you a favor. It stung to hear, but it also validated my decision. Christine's mask had slipped, not just in front of me, but in front of others too. Later that week, I heard from a mutual friend who worked at Christine's office. "Word's gotten around," they said. "Even her boss knows. She's been unusually quiet at work." I sighed. "I'm not trying to ruin her life. I just wanted out of something toxic." "You did the right thing," they replied. "People are starting to see her for who she really is." That night, I sat in my workshop, wiping grease from my hands as I stared at the engagement ring I'd placed on the workbench. It symbolized more than just a broken promise. It was a reminder of how far I'd come, and how much further I could go without someone who didn't value me. The whispers at Christine's office didn't just fade, they multiplied. A week after the party, her boss called her in for a private meeting. Word of the humiliating toast had reached management, and it wasn't sitting well with the higher-ups. The company prided itself on professionalism, and Christine's actions had cast a shadow over that image. "Christine," her boss began, his tone clipped. "I've received feedback about your behavior at the holiday party. It's concerning." Christine straightened in her chair, forcing a smile. "It was just a joke, sir. I didn't mean any harm." "Intent doesn't always matter," he replied, leaning forward. "Perception does, and the perception is that you disrespected someone in a public setting. That's not the kind of leadership we're looking for." Her heart sank. "Leadership?" she echoed. "Yes," he said bluntly. "The promotion you've been vying for is off the table. We need to reevaluate." Christine's breath hitched, but she masked her panic with indignation. "This is about my personal life. It has nothing to do with my work." Her boss raised an eyebrow. "When your personal choices affect the company's image, it becomes our concern. I suggest you take some time to reflect on that." She left the office fuming, her face flushed with humiliation. But the fallout didn't end there. Over the next few days, colleagues she had once counted as allies began to distance themselves. The whispers became unavoidable. "Did you hear what she said about her fiancé?" one coworker muttered in the break room. "It's no wonder he broke it off," another replied. "She's always been a bit much." Even her closest friend, Dana, hesitated when Christine vented. "I'm just saying," Dana offered cautiously. "Maybe you should apologize. It might smooth things over." Christine scoffed, her pride refusing to yield. But deep down, she knew the damage was done. For the first time, she was forced to confront the truth. Her actions had consequences, and this time, there was no escaping them. The weeks after the fallout were a whirlwind of change for Lewis. He decided to channel his frustration into productivity, diving headfirst into new projects at the garage. One afternoon, as he installed a custom engine into an old Mustang, Matt, his closest coworker, leaned over the hood. "You've been quiet lately," Matt remarked, "but in a good way, like you're finally steering your own ship." Lewis chuckled, tightening a bolt. "Something like that. Feels good to focus on what matters." His evenings were no less purposeful. Lewis began teaching weekend classes for aspiring mechanics at a community center, finding joy in mentoring a new generation. One student, a teenager named Ethan, lingered after class one evening. "Mr. Farella, I want to say thanks," Ethan said, his voice shy but earnest. "You taught me more than just fixing cars. You'd shown me how to stand proud of who I am." Lewis smiled, clapping Ethan on the shoulder. "That means a lot. Just remember, it's not about what others think, it's about what you love." The turning point came one crisp autumn morning. Standing outside his shop, coffee in hand, Louis watched the sunrise spill gold across the horizon. The once heavy ache in his chest had lifted, replaced by a quiet sense of accomplishment. For the first time in years, he felt whole. Later that day, a customer, a single mother named Clara, stopped by to pick up her repaired car. As she handed over the payment, she hesitated. "You're more than just a mechanic, Louis. You care about people. That's rare." Her words lingered as she drove away, and Louis realized she was right. He wasn't just moving forward. He was building a life where he was valued and respected, not for appearances, but for authenticity. On a crisp autumn morning, Louis stood outside his shop, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and orange. For the first time in months, he felt a deep sense of peace. Moving forward wasn't just about leaving Christine behind. It was about embracing the freedom to live authentically on his own terms. His past with Christine had been a painful lesson, but it also led him here, to a future he could embrace with open arms.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.